Well, today we're back at the home of Darrell Merrell, and we're actually checking up on some of that garlic that we planted last fall. And Darrell, how's it been doing?
Well, it's been kind of a rough garlic year, but this particular batch is in good high ground, so it's looking pretty good. I want to show the viewers here, you know, even those old timers on TV, sometimes we get a little jitters because I think we got 2 cloves planted in that hole right there.
We didn't do very well, did we?
But this is the garlic that we planted last October on our segment, and I think maybe we'll, I think it's about ready, don't you? Or awfully close.
Now, what variety is this that we're
This is
harvesting?
Chevalice, also known as chestnut oak red. It's a purple stripe hardneck. It is one of the best baking and cooking garlics. It's one of my favorites. So why don't we just pop this out of the ground and see what we got here with the 2 cloves maybe.
I think we do.
Brenda planted it, now she gets to harvest it.
I didn't do a very good job, did I?
Ain't that wonderful? Oh. Now you can see it's still wet. We've had 37 inches of rain here up through the end of June since the first of the year. Now those are pretty good size, even though we had them in there back to back. That's nice.
And these are what you call hardnecks, right?
You're right. It puts out a false, so if you like to hold one, it puts out a false seed stalk with a little bulb on the end, and that will eventually open up and it'll have looks like little seed pods. They're actual clones of the bulbs or the bulb below. And this, as it dries, will get hard, just like a piece of wood. So that's why it's called a hardneck. And this whole stem will just be hard like a piece of wood.
I can feel that right now.
And as you notice on hardnecks, the leaves are a lot narrower. And that's why it's important to keep the weeds out of your garlic, because the garlic's leaves are so narrow that they need all the sunlight that they can get to produce a good bulb. This is a fair bulb. It's a good medium-sized bulb. This one over here by itself, we'll just pop it out real quick and see if it's developed any better. And we're not cheating here because you can even see the mulch hadn't even been disturbed. Even by itself, not too much there, so it had plenty of nutrients there and got plenty of sunlight.
Oh, good.
It's nice and round, and that when you get the outer wrappers off, you can see the cloves distinctly there. But that's a nice garlic, nice size right there. Chevalice, great cooking garlic. And then right next to this little patch here, we have what is called a soft neck, and you can see the real difference between soft necks and hard neck. This one happens to be one of my favorites, red toque or toque liable, and it's a soft neck, and the bulbs do get larger on the soft neck. See how wet that is? Ideally, you'd like for the ground to be drier, but it does not put out a false seed stalk like those. So these are just leaf wrappers or wrappers around the bulb that make leaves, and you can see how soft that is compared to that. So that's why it's called a soft neck. This is a type of garlic that will store maybe 2 months or so longer than the hard necks, and also the type of garlic that's used for braiding. For braiding garlic. That's a medium-sized bulb, and that's just really a perfect bulb for commercial use right there, or for the average home gardener for kitchen use.
Now, once we've got them out of the ground, you've got a bunch of these curing right now. Can we take a look at those?
You bet.
Okay.
Let's walk over to the shed and see what it looks like. Well, here we are at the drying shed.
Oh, you just got them hung up there.
Yeah, Brenda, this is just an old shed, and sometimes I've used it as a garage, and store lawnmowers and things in, and I haven't built me a garlic curing shed yet. So I just knocked out part of the wall for circulation, opened the doors, got me some oscillating fans, and put me some nails up on the rafter and spaced them about 8 inches apart, and so that there's good air circulation. It's out of the sunlight, but there's a breeze going through here all the time, so they'll cure real nice in here. I cured some in here last year, and it worked fine.
Now you've basically used flagging tape to tie them up with.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it stretches, and you can write on it with a permanent pen, and just leave a tag hanging out where you can get to it and see it, and it works real well for me.
Okay. Now this is the curing process. About how long does that take?
This anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the variety and how much air circulation you have and how much humidity you have in the air. And it's been humid this year.
It's going to take longer this year.
Yeah. So if it dries off, we get into more of a dry spell, they'll cure a little faster. But these have just been hung one day, so you can see there's a lot of green still left on them. We've tried to. I use your method of trying to count 5 leaves, 5 green leaves, to kind of judge by when to harvest, and that generally works out pretty well. Except sometimes in wet conditions, you can see those right there.
Yeah. Didn't
develop very well, and some of the outer wrappers are already off, and they split off a little bit from the head. If you can film around my old antique tea kettle there, can you see that?
Yeah,
that's been in the ground just a little bit too long. You can see them splitting away from the head, but that's still good edible garlic when it cures. It wouldn't be sellable garlic, but it's good edible garlic, and you can use the cloves for replanting again.
Okay. Now, the next step in the process is kind of cleaning and all of that.
Cleaning, and talk a little bit about storage.
Okay.
And after they're cured for 4 to 6 weeks, then we cut them from the stalk and clean them up a little bit.
Let's go do that.
Okay.
Now, Darrell, how do you know when your garlic has cured long enough?
Okay, I've got one hanging here we're going to do a little cleaning on to see, but normally if all, time-wise, if you've had it for 4 weeks hanging away, it's pretty surely that it's cured. But if all the stalks are brown and not any green on them, this one still has a little green, so it's not fully cured. But we're going to snip one off now anyway to clean it, just to show how it is clean. So we might expect that it might have a little green in the stem. And I'm going to do about 2 inches. Some people cut them shorter than that. But see, that one is pretty well cured. It's not fully cured. You can see a little yellow and a little green in there. And you can feel it, and you still feel a little moisture. See, Brenda?
Oh, yeah.
So it's not fully cured. As I say, this has only been curing for 2 weeks. But it's good enough for demonstration purpose. And this is still going to be wonderful to eat right now. I like to eat it just as soon as I harvest it sometimes. It really has a mellow flavor. So why don't we just sit down and clean this little bulb and see what it turns out like.
Now there's some pretty specific tools that you need to use to clean.
Well, you need a clipper to clip it all. And see, you're going to have, when you pull it out, you try to get all the dirt that you can. When it's muddy, it's difficult to do. But we want to clip off all those root hairs, because you would think you would clip these off when you hang them to cure, but you don't. But they will attract a lot of moisture and after it's cured, so you want to get those off. And for cosmetic purposes, it looks better. Now you can just rub off a lot of the soil that's on there and pull off the outer wrapper. It's good and dry right now. It'll see, it's not really cured. You can see some green, but if the outer wrapper is dry, so you can get most of the soil off and pretty it up, and won't have dirt in your kitchen so bad. So see, that's already shaping up pretty good.
That looks nice.
Now then, if you got some little harder spots, another high-tech tool that we ought to have around the house is just a toothbrush. And depending on the hardness of the soil, I use a soft bristle or a medium bristle. This one happens to be a medium bristle. But see, you can just pretty well rub most of that off. Now, I sell garlic in the fall, and there's a lot of handwork to garlic. I mean, every one of these bulbs, to look this presentable, has to be cleaned by hand.
Wow.
Now then, when you're handling garlic, you do not want to drop it on a table or any hard surface. You want to be gentle with it and set them down, gentlemen. Don't bang them, because if you do, it bruises them and they will deteriorate a lot faster. It'll set up a rotting process or a deterioration process. So you want to be very careful with garlic. And going back to planting, when this is cured and you save it for planting in October, you want to be real careful and not bang them around, because you'll cause all kinds of problems by planting an inferior clove. Now we can even go a little further on this and take off some of these other wrappers. Normally when you're popping the whole bulb, you just run your finger around there and it'll snap all those layers of wrappings,
Right.
which each one of those, by the way, goes up and forms a leaf. But this is still a little green, so it's a little tougher to do. But this ought to be, in another 2 weeks, that will be just real dry. We can get in there and actually see the individual cloves. This is a variety called Enchilium Red. It was discovered on the Indian Reservation, Colville Indian Reservation up in the state of Washington. It's a soft neck, and as you can see, the cloves are formed around the center in layers. So I pull one off right there.
Yep.
There'll be a ring of outer cloves, which is the larger one, and then there will be another series of wrappers all around in the center, and those will be smaller little bulbs, as you can see. But all of those are usable.
Well, this
So
is
you
good
can
to
see
know.
that this is only half cured. This ought to be real dry. All of that will be just dry as it can be in about 2 weeks, and that's when you want to cut them from the stalks if you want to store them in the house.
Okay.
My friend Richard Smith, garlic smith up in the state of Washington, Kettles Falls, Washington, tells me that if you have some place where you can store the garlic with the stem still on them, that it will last longer. It won't deteriorate as fast.
Okay.
But for commercial purposes, you have to cut them, pretty them up, and for shipping, you know, cut all that extra off just for weight and all that. But that is a real nice bulb of garlic right there, and it's grown right here in Oklahoma.
Very good.
So, and the marvelous thing about it is it has a real smooth flavor. It doesn't bite you while you're biting it, and man, it has a garlic flavor.
Well, good.
Fact, I had 3 cloves for lunch, folks. They call me the tomato man with garlic breath now. Brenda's experiencing that right now.
Well, Darrell, we really appreciate you kind of showing us from start to finish how to take care of our garlic.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed working with you.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.